Hi CC families, Erica here. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about Chart E and Chart F, so nouns and pronouns. So let's start with the definition of a noun. We can sing that to Twinkle Twinkle. A noun names a person, place, thing, activity, or idea. A noun names a person, place, thing, activity, or idea. We can also do it kind of to just a little chant I like to do. This is how I generally remember it is. A noun names a person, place, thing, activity, or idea. A noun names a person, place, thing, activity, or idea. You could add the hand motions to that too, but you have to get them a little bit quicker because the chant is just a little faster than Twinkle Twinkle. So let's try that. A noun names a person, place, thing, activity, or idea. A noun names a person, place, thing, activity, or idea. The next part of Chart E consists of the noun usages. So these are the 9 different ways that we can use a noun in a sentence. So the way I remember this is a very visual thing. I think this was shared maybe 5 years ago on the Essentials Tutor Facebook page. There's an image of a minion riding on the back of a spider, like it's a horse. And we have this term that we think of when we think of these 9 noun usages, SPIDO PONA, or some communities say SPIDO PONA because there's a spider there. So whichever way you pronounce it. What I remember is I think of that minion riding on the back of a spider and I can just hear him saying, SPIDO PONA, or however a minion sounds. I'm not very good at impersonating minions, but I can, in my head it sounds so much more like a minion. So he's like riding a minion and he's super excited, and so I remember SPIDO PONA because that's what he's crying as he rides on the back of this spider. And so SPIDO PONA or SPIDO PONA helps us remember, that's an acronym for the 9 noun usages. So one way that we could try to memorize this is through a tune. I used bingo, so B-I-N-G-O. Subject, noun, possessive noun, adjective, indirect object, direct object, object of the preposition, predicate, nominative, object, complement, noun, noun of direct address, appositive. So those are the 9 noun usages. I will note that when you look at the top 5, over to the side, it lists the noun case, or the Latin noun cases. And that is really good for your student to memorize and try to make those connections. It'll be super helpful when they move into Latin in the challenge years, knowing that the subject noun is nominative, that possessive noun adjectives are genitive, that making those connections will be really helpful. So even though those are not on the blank chart that your student might be working on filling in, I would encourage them to try to work on those. So the bottom part of the noun chart are the noun attributes. So every noun can be classified as common or proper, singular or plural, common or abstract. Some of them are collective and some of them are compound. So those are some attributes that we can describe a noun by. So one way that I would just do it is kind of just doing a back and forth, common, proper, singular, plural, concrete, abstract, and switch it up here and there. Nothing too fancy there. I don't have a song or anything fun for that part, sorry. So let's move on to Chart F now, the pronoun chart. And we'll start at the top where we have the definition of a pronoun. A pronoun replaces a noun in order to avoid repetition. A pronoun replaces a noun in order to avoid repetition. And so the hand motions are fairly straightforward. Anytime I've talked about a noun in the past, I always tap my head because I am a noun. A noun names a person, place, thing, activity, or idea. So I'm a noun, and a pronoun replaces a noun, so I'm just going to use the same hand motion. So a pronoun replaces a noun in order to avoid a repetition. Something that happens over and over and over is repetitive. And so that's why we use this as our hand motion to avoid repetition. The very top, the majority of the chart, consists of a grid that is labeled the personal pronouns. And so we're going to go through each of those personal pronouns. There are 5 different groups of personal pronouns. So we'll start with the subjective or nominative pronouns. When we learned this group of pronouns in Foundations, it was titled nominative pronouns. So the way that I remember this is that kind of little tune like na 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 na. So that helps me remember nominative, na 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 na. They kind of go together. So nominative pronouns, nominative pronouns. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. Nominative pronouns, nominative pronouns. I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they. The other way that I think is really helpful to remember those, depending on your students' understanding of the whole concept, is that I take a verb and I recognize that the nominative pronouns are the subjects of the sentence. So if I just take the verb played, we say, I played, you played, he, she, it played, we played, you played, they played. And so putting the subject with a verb helps your student, or might help your student, recognize which pronouns they need to be a nominative pronoun. So our objective pronouns. Our objective pronouns, I remember Cookie Monster for this. And how does Cookie Monster say that he wants a cookie? He doesn't say, I would like a cookie, please. He says, me want cookie. And we know that that's wrong. That's not how we should speak. But that helps me remember that our objective pronouns start with me. So if it helps that you remember that Cookie Monster is saying these, because it starts with me want cookie, then you might want to say it with a Cookie Monster kind of voice. Me, you, him, her, it, us, you, them. If that's helpful. Some students at this age think that's kind of silly, but you know, whatever. The other trick that I like to use is recognizing that an objective pronoun will be used as an object of the preposition. So if your student knows any preposition, they can choose any preposition. About is the first one on our preposition list. So about me, about you, about him, her, it, about us, about you, about them. So you can use that preposition, and any pronoun that fits with that preposition is an objective pronoun. So that's another way to look at that or help your student recognize objective pronouns. The next column are our possessive pronouns. And this list, I think of those seagulls from Finding Nemo. You know, what do they say? Mine, mine, mine. Again, I'm not very good at impressions, but you probably have an image or a mental image, and you can hear them in your head, like I hear them in my head, saying mine. And that reminds me that the possessive pronouns, what does it mean to possess something? It means to own it or to have it, to claim it. So the possessive pronouns start with mine. So we have mine, yours, his, hers, its, ours, yours, theirs. Mine, yours, his, hers, its, ours, yours, theirs. The sentence trick or the test that I use for this is just to say the book is mine, the book is yours, the book is his, hers, its, the book is ours, the book is yours, the book is theirs. So generally your student can fill in the right pronoun and recognize that they have the correct pronoun for a possessive pronoun if they use that kind of test. The next column over are possessive pronoun adjectives. So our possessive pronouns stand all by themselves. Mine is the blue one. This book is mine. Versus our possessive pronoun adjectives, these are describing something because that's what adjectives do. So this is my book, your book, his book, her book, its book, our book, your book, their book. So if you can put it in front of a noun, which makes it an adjective, then that is a possessive pronoun adjective. So that's kind of the test that I use to remind us whether we have a possessive pronoun adjective versus a possessive pronoun. My, your, his, her, its, our, your, their. The last column, we have reflexive pronouns. And when I think of reflexive, I think of my reflection or your reflection. And we look in a mirror to see our reflection. So I have my students hold up their hand and pretend like they're looking in the mirror. And who will they see? I see myself. You see yourself. He sees himself, herself, itself. Ourselves, yourselves, themselves. So that's how I remember those. I have them pretend like they're looking in a mirror. Myself, yourself. Himself, herself, itself. Ourselves, yourselves, themselves. So that's all of the personal pronouns. We're going to move to the bottom where we have other pronouns. And we have 4 different categories of other pronouns. We'll start with demonstrative pronouns. And demonstrative, you can kind of hear the word in there, monster. And so that makes it easy for me to tie it into this little saying that I've been using for a while. I say, this is my monster. That is my monster. These are my monsters. Those are my monsters. So that helps me remember this, that, these, those. This is my monster. That is my monster. These are my monsters. Those are my monsters. Next on the list are our interrogative pronouns, and these are pronouns that are replacing a noun and also asking a question at the same time. Who, whom, whose, which, what? Who, whom, whose, which, what? Which, what? Who, whom, whose, which, what? Who, whom, whose, which, what? Which, what? That just has stuck for me. Hopefully it helps you too. So next on the list is a long list of pronouns. These are our indefinite pronouns. And I like to sing this to Frosty the Snowman. Indefinite pronouns, all, another, any, anybody, anyone, anything, both, each, either, everybody, everyone, everything, few, many, more, most, neither, nobody, none. One, other, several, some, somebody, someone, and such. So the last section of pronouns on chart F are the relative pronouns. Now we see a longer list here than we see when we learn relative pronouns on chart H. And there's a reason for that. I'm not going to go into the reason why, but because it is found in 2 places and the lists are slightly different, I reorder the way that I do them on chart F. So I just wanted you to understand why I do them differently. So on chart H, we learn who, whom, whose, which, that. We learn those 5. So those are the 5 that I start with when we do our relative pronouns on chart F. That way, I'm doing the same thing, I'm just doing a little extra on chart F, and I'm only doing those 5 when we get to the conjunctions on chart H. So, and because it is a very similar list to our interrogative pronouns, who, whom, whose, which, what, I kind of do the same type of chant there. So, hopefully that makes sense. Here's what I do. Who, whom, whose, which, that, whoever, whomever, what, whatever. Who, whom, whose, which, that, whoever, whomever, what, whatever. So I hope you found some of that information useful for you and your students as you work on unpacking and understanding chart E and chart F. Have a great week.